If you're over 60 and doing any of these 10 things for a man, you're not being loving. You're being used. And the most painful part is that most women don't realize it until it's far too late. Until the savings are gone, the family has grown distant, the energy is drained, and the mirror reflects someone they barely recognize anymore. Stay with me, because number 7 is the one that silently destroys more relationships than all the others combined. And number 10 will completely change how you see yourself in any relationship for the rest of your life. This is not about becoming cold, selfish, or difficult. It's about becoming wise. It's about protecting the peace you spent decades building. Because after 60, love should not feel like a sacrifice. It should feel like a shelter. It should not cost you your dignity, your security, or your sense of self. Many women were raised to believe that love means giving endlessly, being patient, being accommodating, being the one who adjusts, forgives, and understands. But there comes a point in life when that habit stops being noble and starts becoming dangerous. Because at this stage, every emotional wound cuts deeper, every financial mistake takes longer to recover from, and every wrong relationship steals time that can never be replaced. So let's begin with the first truth many women struggle to accept. Never apologize for your standards. Somewhere along the way, women were taught that having standards makes them difficult, that expecting respect is asking for too much, that setting boundaries makes them appear cold or unloving, so they begin to soften their expectations just to keep someone around. It often starts with subtle comments. He says you're too picky about where to eat, too organized, too particular, too cautious with your money. And instead of standing firm, you laugh it off. You say, maybe I am a bit too much. And in that moment, something shifts inside you. You begin negotiating with your own values. A woman who once demanded respect begins tolerating dismissive remarks. A woman who once valued consistency starts accepting last-minute plans. A woman who once protected her finances begins making small compromises. None of it feels dramatic at first. It feels like flexibility. It feels like cooperation. It feels like love. But slowly, those compromises become a pattern, and that pattern becomes a quiet erosion of the self. Carl Jung spoke about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we abandon in order to be accepted. When you apologize for your standards, you push your authentic self into that shadow. And the shadow does not stay quiet. It turns into resentment. It turns into exhaustion. It becomes a sadness you can't quite explain, even when everything looks fine on the outside. Your standards are not barriers to love. They are the structure that makes love safe. A man who truly values you will not ask you to lower your boundaries. He will rise to meet them. And that brings us to the second thing you must never do. Never sacrifice your relationship with your children or grandchildren for a man. This is one of the A Sunday dinner becomes optional. A weekly phone call becomes less frequent. A birthday gathering turns into a weekend getaway with him instead. And at first, everyone seems understanding. Your daughter says, "It's okay, Mom. Enjoy your time." Your grandchildren don't complain. Life continues. But relationships rarely break in dramatic moments. They fade in silence. Distance grows in small, nearly invisible steps. The calls become less frequent. The visits become shorter. The emotional closeness slowly weakens. And if that romantic relationship ends, you may find yourself standing alone, trying to rebuild connections that were once effortless. Healthy love expands your world. It doesn't shrink it. A man who truly cares about you will want to be part of your life, not replace the people in it. He will sit at your family table, not pull you away from it. Now we come to something that many women have done their entire lives without question. Never become his unpaid nurse, maid, or therapist. And there is a profound difference between caring for someone and carrying someone. After 60, many women have spent decades taking care of others: children, husbands, parents, workplaces, communities. Caregiving becomes second nature. It feels familiar. It feels like love. So when a man enters their life with problems, health concerns, emotional wounds, financial struggles, they instinctively step in to help. At first it seems harmless. You remind him to take his medication. You cook for him occasionally. You listen to his frustrations. But slowly, the balance shifts. You start managing his appointments, cleaning his home, handling his responsibilities, listening to hours of complaints about his past, his ex-wife, his children, his life. And one day, someone asks you a simple question. What does he do for you? And the silence that follows says everything. Some men are not searching for partners. They are searching for caretakers. They are looking for someone to replace the role their mother or former partner once filled. And no matter how much you give, it will never transform them into the man you hoped they would become. Real love is reciprocal. It moves in both directions. It asks, "How can I support you?" just as often as it says, "Let me take care of you." And that leads directly into something even more sensitive, yet absolutely critical after 60. Never become his financial safety net. Never become his financial safety net. After 60, your financial stability is not just important, it is sacred. It represents decades of work, sacrifice, planning, and discipline. It is not simply money. It is your independence, your freedom, your ability to make choices without fear. And yet this is exactly where many women are quietly taken advantage of. It rarely begins with something dramatic. There is no grand request at the start. Instead, it comes as a small, reasonable favor. He's had a temporary setback. He just needs a little help with rent. Or his car broke down. Or a medical bill caught him off guard. He promises it's only this once. And because you care, you help. But once the door opens, it rarely closes. Another request follows. Then another. And another. Each one seems logical on its own. Each one feels like an act of kindness. But together they form a pattern. And that pattern slowly drains the resources you spent a lifetime building. What many women don't realize is that financial exploitation often begins with emotional manipulation. He may tell you that you're the only one he can rely on, that you're different from the others, that helping him proves your love. And if you hesitate, he may make you feel guilty, selfish, or unkind. But a man who truly loves you does not endanger your security. He protects it. He respects what you have built. He does not see your savings as an opportunity. He sees it as something sacred that must be honored. Your money is not just numbers in an account. It is your independence, your choices, your dignity. Never trade it for the illusion of love. And now we come to something more emotional, more subtle, but equally destructive. Never ignore red flags just because you're lonely. Loneliness can be a powerful force. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It tells you that maybe you're being too picky. Maybe you expect too much. Maybe this is as good as it gets. So when a man shows up with inconsistencies, you start explaining them away. He avoids talking about his past. You tell yourself he's just private. He cancels plans often. You assume he's busy. He never introduces you to his friends or family. You think maybe he just moves slowly. Deep down, you feel the discomfort. You sense something is off. But loneliness has a way of silencing intuition. It convinces you that having someone halfway is better than having no one at all. Carl Jung believed that the psyche always knows the truth. Even when the conscious mind refuses to accept it, the deeper self senses danger. Those gut feelings, those quiet doubts, those moments of unease, they are not paranoia. They are wisdom. Red flags do not disappear with time. They grow. They multiply. And the longer you ignore them, the more painful the truth becomes when it finally surfaces. You are not being difficult for noticing them. You are being wise. Which brings us to something many women have done since childhood, without even realizing it. Never shrink yourself to make him feel bigger. How many times have you downplayed your achievements, hidden your intelligence, pretended to know less than you do, just to avoid making a man uncomfortable? A woman may have built a remarkable life. She may have traveled the world, had raised children, built a career, survived hardships, and gained deep wisdom. But when she enters a relationship with an insecure man, she suddenly becomes quieter, smaller, less expressive. She starts saying things like, "Oh, it wasn't that impressive," or "I just got lucky," even when she knows that isn't true. Why? Because he changes the subject when she talks about her success. Because he makes subtle jokes. Because he seems threatened by her confidence. So she dims her light, thinking it will make the relationship easier. But here is the truth. A secure man celebrates your strength. An insecure man resents it. When you shrink yourself to protect someone else's ego, you betray your own growth. You silence the very qualities that make you unique. And over time, that silence turns into quiet misery. You have earned every lesson, and every achievement, every piece of wisdom you carry. Do not hide it to make someone else comfortable. If a man feels threatened by your light, it is not your job to dim it. It is a sign that he was never meant to stand beside you. And now we arrive at the one mistake that traps more women than any other. Never accept breadcrumbs and call it love. This is the pattern that keeps women stuck for years, sometimes decades. Not because the relationship is fulfilling, but because it offers just enough hope to keep them from walking away. Breadcrumbs look like inconsistent communication. He texts every few days but never calls. He sees you once a week but never plans ahead. He avoids talking about the future. He keeps things vague, unclear, undefined. But every time you start to pull away, he suddenly becomes attentive. He sends sweet messages. He makes promises. He gives you just enough affection to keep you from leaving. And you tell yourself a story. He's busy. He's not ready yet. He just needs more time. He'll come around eventually. But he rarely does. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. It is the same mechanism used in gambling. Random rewards create the strongest addiction because you never know when the next reward will come. So you keep trying. You keep hoping. You keep staying. But breadcrumbs are not love. They are control. They are uncertainty disguised as romance. Real love is consistent. It is present. It is clear. It does not leave you guessing. It does not keep you in emotional suspense. You deserve the whole meal, not scraps from the table. And what comes next goes even deeper than behavior. When it touches the very core of who you are as a person. Never change your core values or beliefs for a man. Your values are not decorations. They are not accessories you can swap out, depending on who walks into your life. They are your compass. They have guided you through heartbreak, loss, uncertainty, and decades of decisions. They are part of your identity. And yet, some women begin to loosen their grip on those values when a man enters the picture. Not all at once, not in obvious ways. It usually starts with something small. He makes fun of your spiritual practices. He calls your beliefs old-fashioned. He suggests you skip your weekly gatherings, your church, your meditation group, or your volunteer work, just to spend more time with him. And because you don't want conflict, you tell yourself it's not a big deal. You say, I can pray at home. You say, I can go next week. You say, it's just this once. But just this once slowly becomes a habit. And before long, you find yourself disconnected from the very things that once gave your life meaning. You feel a strange emptiness, but you can't quite explain why. Carl Jung believed that our spiritual life, whatever form it takes, is essential to psychological balance. When we abandon it for someone else, we create a void inside ourselves. And no relationship, no matter how passionate, can fill that void. A man who truly loves you will respect your beliefs, even if he does not share them. He will not try to reshape your soul to fit his comfort. He will honor the things that make you feel grounded and whole. Because love should never ask you to betray your deepest truths. And this brings us to something very practical, but often overlooked until it's too late. You never give up your independence or your living space too quickly. After 60, your home is more than just a place to sleep. It is your sanctuary. It is your safety. It is the result of years, sometimes decades, of hard work and sacrifice. It represents freedom, stability, and dignity. But sometimes a man enters your life and begins to suggest changes. He says it would be easier if you lived together. He talks about saving money. He paints a picture of convenience, companionship, and simplicity. And if you're not careful, you may find yourself making decisions too quickly. Selling your home. Giving up your independence. Moving into a space that is not truly yours. What many women don't consider is this. Relationships can end. People can change. Promises can dissolve. But once your independence is gone, rebuilding it can be incredibly difficult. If a relationship ends after you've given up your home, your security, and your stability, you may find yourself emotionally and financially vulnerable in ways you never imagined. Your independence is not a sign that you are distant or cold. It is a sign that you are wise. It is the foundation of your peace. Do not surrender it unless you are absolutely certain, legally protected, and emotionally secure. And now we come to the final truth, the one that changes everything. Never forget that you are complete without him. This is the most important lesson of all. Because if you truly understand this, every other mistake becomes impossible. Society has spent decades telling women that being single is a failure, that a woman without a partner is somehow incomplete. That companionship is the ultimate proof of worth. But that is a lie. You have lived more than 60 years. You have survived losses, disappointments, and challenges. You have built a life. You have gathered wisdom, strength, and resilience. None of that depends on whether a man is standing beside you. Carl Jung spoke about individuation, the process of becoming fully yourself. And that process does not require a partner. In fact, it often requires solitude. It requires time alone to understand who you are, what you value, and what kind of life truly brings you peace. A relationship should enhance your life, not define it. It should add warmth, not fill a void. It should be a choice, not a necessity. When you truly believe that you are complete on your own, something powerful happens. You stop settling. You stop accepting breadcrumbs. You stop shrinking yourself. You stop apologizing for your standards. And ironically, that is when you become most magnetic. Because there is nothing more attractive than a woman who knows her worth and refuses to trade it for temporary affection. So remember this. These 10 truths are not about becoming difficult, demanding, or cold. They are about honoring yourself. They are about recognizing that real love never asks you to disappear. You have spent decades caring for others. Your children, your parents, your partners, your work, your responsibilities. Now it is time to care for yourself with the same devotion. Because the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with your own soul. And that relationship deserves loyalty, respect, and protection above all else.